I have been excited since this matchup was announced.
Definitely. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to rely on you a little bit with the racers. Looks like we're going to have the race starting shortly. Quick rundown of the parties. Looks like we have both of them going with the same fighter, 2 red mages and white mage. Missing out on black mages. What do you think?
I think it'll be fine. Red mage can handle pretty much anything black mage would have done, except they can also take a punch to the face. Sounds
like my type of person. So chat, for those who are joining us from the Link to Past randomizer, hopefully you've played this game once or twice in your lifetime. I grew up playing it. I don't know if you did the same as well.
I played a little bit as a kid. Really came to it as an adult, so it's one of those things. I've got a little less nostalgia, but I play a lot of D&D, so it balances out. And we are off!
What do you think is going to be in the magic shop right now?
I'm thinking there's going to be a wall spell at level 1 and Lightning 3 and Temper.
Lightning 3 is a huge pickup for both of those red mages. That means that they're going to be able to strike their enemies down. Also looks like a very friendly encounter table.
And we have a floater in the item shop for 14k, so this is already off to a good start. I may not be allowed to roll Siege just for getting people off to fast starts.
That's awesome. Now, here's the thing. Say that a important item or weapon comes into play. Like, say, we won't say Vorpal because Vorpal's trash, but a good weapon comes into play, and it sells for about that 14,000. Do you hawk it off to get that floater ASAP, or no?
I think that you have to take that chance. Without the floater and the canoe, your chest access is going to be really limited unless you luck into a ship in TNT. So you just need to go ahead and get that floater and go. If only because you can't bank on your opponent not doing that.
So looks like the Wolves have a fantastic 90s movie called Sweet as one of their first spells. Where's the van, Whoa? Just tell me where's the van!
I think it's in a more modern setting.
I'll tell you what the van is. It's that floater. That's what they're all looking for.
Well, the downside is we're not going to see any Sky Pirates of Provoca tonight, but the bright side is we've got runners into the Temple of Fiends.
Definitely. It looks like the Wolf and Gerwolf encounter is unrunnable. And by the way, chat, if you have questions, I know we're going to probably be gaining a few viewers from the Link to the Past randomizer. Do throw it in chat. Woke and myself would be talking about it. And zombies with a horrible, horrible spell. Well, tell them a little bit about it.
I was actually pulling up the tracker because I just realized that I had not done so.
Well, it's cremate. And not the good form of cremate.
Okay, there's a good form of cremate?
Well, isn't that like what you put on top of like ice cream? It's cream mate. Arrgh.
No, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot post bits to kill Joker.
But we will take all the bits available. Who knows? Maybe if I have a little bit of cream mate. Arrgh. You never know.
Just stop. Mercy, mercy. Demerine is going to be the first through the Temple of Fiends, and she's going to pick up a loot and a cube.
So the king gives you the loot to play the magic to entertain his daughter, Sarah. Fantastic. Because, you know, chicks dig guys who play in bands. Or so I've been told. I just don't know.
So let's see here. We don't have a bridge, we don't have a canoe, so something's got to be at the Dwarf Cave.
Walrus Custard, to answer the question, are there bug fixes in this hacks like elemental defense, bug on armor, or was it weapons? So there is a switch that will fix fix weapon damage and armor, as well as I believe it is expert.
Oh yeah, no, there's a ton of bug fixes. For those who are unaware, about, what is it, half the spells in the original Final Fantasy just didn't really work. And the dev team behind the Final Fantasy Randomizer has gone through a lot of effort to figure out why those things didn't work and proceed to fix them with unyielding precision.
Everyone's hoping for a bridge in a box, Will Cleosis.
Now, it's either going to be a bridge or a canoe.
In a box. Hey!
Actually, wait, I guess it could be the ship. We do have docks that are accessible. Oh, please let this be a ship at the Dwarf Cave.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was saying, I guess technically the ship could be in the boxes here, but it's going to be the bridge.
It's a bridge in a box. Hey!
And an ice sword for their trouble.
I highly doubt that that's going to sell for the required amount, but hey, you never know.
And yes, both runners are using female sprites. I believe both of them are rolling with the Valkyries of Light pack made by Terralyn. Regardless, though, Demerine is going to be the first one with a bridge, and she's going to make her way back over to Corneria and set up toward Provoca. Do you think we're going to see either one of these runners make the move up to Matoya, or are they going to make a beeline for BK?
See, I would go for Matoya because there are 3 free chests there that you're able to pick up and check out. Because no matter what happens, you're going to get a benefit. If it comes up duds, then you can always reset. If it doesn't, then you just got yourself something great. Unless it's a Vorpal, and then you can turn around.
There is a vote against heading to Matoya, though. We do not have any save items here in Corneria.
So what? I'm a gambler. I'm a roll of the dice type of guy. So I'll go up there. What would you be doing, Will?
I'd probably be making a beeline for Provoca. At this point, BK has to have the canoe, and since he has the canoe, I want my airship.
So
because, go on.
Are you going to Peninsula Power Grind at that point to get the airship?
If there's cheap save items in Provoca, I'm just going to pick up some tents or cabins and brute force my way down the river. I want that airship.
Well, they also have to buy the airship at this point and get the 14K. But the other things you could have, we could be looking at a Marsh Cave dive. We could have TNT in the marsh, and BK could, guess what? Be vanilla.
If BK has the ship, I don't think that they're going to let me roll another seed.
It can't be worse than the last 2 seeds that were, the 3 seeds that were ran last night. I think it ended up being max HP Chaos in my race.
And yeah, you do make a good point. I forgot that they have to buy the floater. We didn't really see much money in the opening chests.
Jack, can we get some Marsh Cave hype up in here, please?
For those of you who are unfamiliar, the Marsh Cave is the worst place in the world.
False. The worst place in the world is where we find Vorpals. Second worst place is Marsh. And for those who don't know, there is a huge argument going on in the Final Fantasy I Randomizer community. Like, by the way, please follow and join our Discord chat and channel. We are very warm and welcoming, and we like to have people.
Now, we do at least have a canoe from the pirates, so Demerine is going to go look for those save items, I reckon, and not the worst price for cabins and houses I've seen. Probably they're going to go want to take a few fights just to get the money up to get enough money, but I don't think either one is going to complain. And that is a level 2 life 2. So I think that means they're going to have more life 2s than you can sneeze at. As well as Bane. Nice.
I'm a huge fan of the Bane strats. Bane strats, Bane sword, best strats, best sword.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Final Fantasy, unlike a lot of later RPGs, in fact almost all of them, instant kill effects are actually worth using in this game. The rate at which they connect is actually very reasonable, and even the final boss, Chaos, can technically die to an instant death effect. It's a very low chance of happening. You can use a couple of spells to raise that a little bit, but the bottom line is you actually do want to use your instant kill spells because you'll instantly kill stuff.
So to answer the question in chat, why is Vorpal the worst sword? It's not technically, if you ask certain people, if it is the worst sword. Some people like myself feel that it is garbage. But it's just kind of one of those ongoing memes and jokes in the community. You ask me what about Vorpal is, I've actually used it on the last 2 races because I've had to. I've had nothing else.
And to be specific, go on.
I was going to say, it technically does have a low attack power, but a high crit rate, and then there comes the argument to, when does crit rate become more valuable than attack power? And not to get into it, but it just makes my head explode.
Yeah, basically, what the Vorpal Sword does is it rolls damage twice. The first damage roll ignores enemy armor and defense, while the second one is a normal attack roll. So the net result is if you're fighting something that, you're not dealing a lot of damage to, that high crit rate actually comes in super handy.
But I'll still take any of the endgame swords over it. But yeah, Hangry Canuck already coming in with Vorpal. Hangry, it's always about the Vorpal. Anytime I'm on commentary, I will complain about the Vorpal.
Yeah, to be exact, the reason the Vorpal came up is we are currently looking at a scenario where... Why were we talking about the Vorpal?
$14,000 gold, 14,000 gold for the floater.
Right, and Marsh Cave. And you were arguing that Marsh Cave is still better than wherever you find the Vorpal, and that is incorrect. Marsh Cave is always the worst.
So we do have a Peninsula Power grad going on by Dem0nfr0g, and for those who are not familiar, the Peninsula Power is this rare spot where you have 4 squares where you can fight these enemies that Dem0nfr0g is doing. That allows him to get a little bit more experience and hit points, and a little bit better. Selling the Heal Staff. Whoa.
I mean, Heal Staff casts the spell Heal. And the spell Heal gives everyone in your party 30 HP back, but you can only use it in battle. So it's generally only useful if you have a spare turn or trying to conserve your other resources, since it's a free cast that you get infinite amounts of. However, it's with the level 2 life 2 and 4 characters on in both parties that can cast that, you don't need to be as vigilant with your healing. Let's be honest.
And totally understandable with that. What had me take a pause there was it looked like we were going to see a sell of the flame armor. I'm not a big fan of that, because if you don't catch more powerful armor later on, if you get the flame armor, ice shield, or ice armor, flame shield, you have protection against a lot of elements, as well as I believe stun is an ice element, and the ice armor protects against that.
I believe you're right, but the other nice thing about the flame armor is it is incredibly good defense for a fighter before you get a chance to class change. In Final Fantasy I, you can upgrade your characters to a stronger class, but a lot of the best equipment is locked out of the starting classes. So it's one of those things, at this point in the game, you want to see equipment that you can strap to your characters now rather than the end-game stuff, because you can't really get to the endgame stuff yet.
And I will second what Will Cleos has just said. The dev team is probably the strongest dev team I've been a part of, or not a part of, that I've seen. They're great. They take a lot of feedback for the Final Fantasy I randomizer community. So, definitely join if you're even interested. If you've played this once before or have never played it, it's easy to pick up. It takes 5 minutes to learn, a lifetime to master.
So, while I was looking away, did Demerine get the money together for the float, or is she just going to go ahead and head south?
I don't believe she's picked up the money for the floater just yet. Still looks like she is running short on it. But and what you'll see here, for those who are just joining us as well and for chat, that you're able, because of open progression that allows you to kind of freely move around a little bit more. We've taken out, the dev team actually was able to take out some roadblocks that allow you to not get the TNT or the ship, which allows you to have a little bit more free reign. Kind of makes it a little bit more interesting for the runners. And no floater, by the way.
All right,
and
good to know.
For those who are asking, why do we keep bringing up the floater, the floater, the floater? Well, in preceding Final Fantasies, you would just end up getting the airship later on in the game. Well, in this version of Final Fantasy, you have to get something called the floater, because who doesn't want like this little ball with wings on it, as it's a Harry Potter Oracle looking type of snitch to catch and put it on your airship, and then you're off flying.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. The floater is kind of the first major milestone for runners in the randomizer, because the floater opens up everywhere on the map. Whereas until you get the floater, you're first restricted to, well, where can I walk to? And then, well, where does a canoe let me get to? And then, well, if I have to get the ship, where can I go with the ship? And the randomizer, as Joker was saying, does open up areas that you normally couldn't access with the canoe and the ship. But you are still limited from getting to 2 of the later dungeons until you have that airship.
So those dark items up there are, or fighters up, or sprites up there. What they are they're intended to help out our chat when we have a force party. In this case, we have one force party member, which is the fighter. In later on rounds, I don't think we'll go full 4 until it's the finals or an exhibition, but it'll help instead of we have to continuously say, hey, we have a forced fighter here.
We do occasionally see 4 forced party members in things like the weekly challenge seed, but yeah, by and large, as far as the tournament's concerned, players will have a little wiggle room until we get to the finals.
So to answer the question in chat, yes, for all Swiss flags, which is rounds 1 through 5, it is going to have one party member forced. And then from that, I believe also for the play-in match, for those who turn out to be 3 and 2, it will be 1 as well. But as it stands, for those first 5 weeks of the Final Fantasy I randomizer, Spring Randomizer Tournament, it's going to be 1 forced party member. We have Demerine in the volcano. What do you think she's going to catch here from the chest? I'm
fully expecting we're going to see a ribbon out of the volcano. It seems to pop up a lot in here just because there's a high concentration of chests. Again, for those of you unfamiliar with the Final Fantasy series, the ribbon is a piece of headgear that provides complete elemental defense. And in the case of Final Fantasy I, elemental defense means not just earth, earth, fire, water, whatever. It includes things like death magic, time magic, status effects. Basically, there's only a handful of abilities in this game that the ribbon does not give you some form of defense against.
And I think that was, we just saw the worm having, or the green worm having death touch.
That is entirely possible. Another feature of the original Final Fantasy that tends to fall off in later games is touch attacks from enemies. Basically, if their normal attack connects with you, they can do all sorts of fun things, from poison to stun to kill you. Just they hit you, you roll the save, you fail that save, you're dead. So it is definitely a situation where, yeah, you don't want to see death touch. And Demerine has dove what we like to call the armory, and she is out of there. And I believe we saw Fast at level 3 magic. Fast is one of the strongest spells in the game. Not for what it does to the enemy, but for what it does to your characters. Essentially, it doubles the number of swings you get when you choose the fight command. And every swing you get is additive. So it's one of those things, if you get, 5 attacks with the strongest sword in the game, you cast Fast, your fighter turns into a Cuisinart.
And for those who do young to know what a Cuisinart is, it's a really nice blender. So if you have a wife, a girlfriend, Christmas time comes around, definitely highly recommend a Cuisinart mixer, because guess what? They're really great. It really makes it easy to make cookies and cakes and pies, and I like all of them. So send them my way, please. And that no sound you heard is Woat's head going.
No, that is the sound of Woat not turning his mic on for chat to hear his head hit the desk. Regardless, Dem0nfr0g is taking advantage of the southern route to go get the floater. So, basically, there's a lot of map in this game that there was never any reason to traverse in the normal game. Dem0nfr0g actually passing through some of it right now. In the normal game, you're almost never going to go this way because you're going to be on the east side of the continent when you pick up the floater normally. And this is basically the only purpose of this southern stretch of swamp, is to connect the city of Elfland with the desert where you get the airship. But speaking of getting the airship, Dem0nfr0g is our first player to take to the skies.
And to answer chat, I actually went with a nice red tonight because, well, it's a Saturday night and you can enjoy a nice bottle of red. Beer, red, whatever you like, go for it. We encourage it. Cheers.
I personally am going with water because we're going to be talking a lot. And I've got to protect my golden pipes. But Dem0nfr0g is going to go consult the sage Sarda, a character who might be familiar to those of you who have read 8-Bit Theater. He's far less megalomaniacal in this one, though.
What is he doing with a crown? How did he steal that crown, and where will we get it from?
I mean, he obviously stole it from the kindly old king in Northwest Castle.
Man, that's just so mean to give the king. Hey, everyone, see one of my favorite characters, as we're going to have Dem0nfr0g go in, the Titan. All he wants is to catch a ruby to go home and see his family. That's all he needs. Give him the ruby.
They don't have a ruby, Joker. They can't give the Titan a ruby they don't have.
So my question, I know, but my question is do you go back and feed the Titan the ruby?
No. Why? Okay, Joker, the Titan has a problem, and as his friends, we need to intervene.
How do we know it's a problem? It's just one ruby. What damage could it be? Ouch! The king was Astos all along and casting poison on our party members.
And the thing is this is still better than A, what Astos does normally, and B, what you have to go through to get the crown normally. Astos is, in the original game, a very dangerous gatekeeper boss. He has those instant death spells. He has the ability to just mop the floor with a low-level party. However, one of the flags that we use in the randomizer for this tournament is what is called script shuffle. What that basically does is it takes enemy abilities and moves them around. First off by saying, okay, instead of going attack, special ability, spell, you're just going to attack, attack, attack. But script shuffle is almost always mixed with what we call the spell and skill shuffle, which basically takes those attack, 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 or attack, skill, spell, and says, okay, instead of your attack, skill, spell being attack, thunder, and fast, now it's attack, nuke, nuclear. So, long story short, Astos goes from generally being a, well, I'm about to kill one of your party members, to, I'm going to stand here and do something useless while you murder the ever-loving crap out of me.
A nice pickup on Dem0nfr0g's side with the katana. He's going to end up selling that off to get a bunch of gold and a way to fund the rest of his run. Or we would hope. Wilcoliosis, I do not believe Demerine has
No, she got it. It's just,
oh, she did. Just pick it
yeah,
up.
it's just one of those things I'm kind of having to pull double duty as tracker and as commentator, so the tracking is going to be a little bit slow tonight, and I apologize for that.
Sorry to answer your question, the war sword has yet to be found. Yes, to answer the question, Glitch29, there is a house in a box. It has been speculated that it just folds up really nicely like the Jetsons, that it's like Capsule Corp. You hit it and you just go boom, and it comes out that way, and it just is like it's a 1980, what, 3 or 5 game that came out. It's like,
Demon.
No one will ever ask why there's a house in a box. How does it happen? Won't answer the question.
I just want to know if Dem0nfr0g is out of pures, because otherwise he is torturing us for no good reason. In later Final Fantasies, as you may or may not be aware, poison usually just makes the screen flicker a little bit. In Final Fantasy 1, it also has this amazing sound that vibrates about 80 times a step. So that squealing you're hearing in the background right now, that is not anything wrong with your computer. That is something wrong with our runner who needs to really fix that poison effect. But he's going to Elfland, so he should be picking up a pure. And Demerine, meanwhile, has taken to the skies. So we're likely going to see her do a lot of the same things we just saw Dem0nfr0g do.
I like the answer of it's a bouncy house in there, because who doesn't like bouncy houses? Well, when are you getting me my bouncy house?
When you learn to behave yourself, Joker.
That's never gonna happen, but come on, you promised me one last time.
I did no such thing. Just because you're old and drunk does not mean I'm old and drunk.
I'm old, but very far from drunk.
No, that's not my problem.
Well, I wouldn't be the latter on this chat. But by the way, so I would love, actually, Amazing Amphros, that's a great question. Would we be able to add a sound? Devs, Meridian, if you're here, would you be able to do that? Would you be able to mute the poison sound?
I believe I have seen this discussion in the chat before, and it's an issue of the way that Final Fantasy handles sounds. Like, I know it's something that they've looked into before, but it's a thornier problem than it would sound, because for those of you who have never looked at the Final Fantasy assembly code, which is actually floating around out there, you can find it by searching around on our Discord, it is... To describe it as spaghetti code would be generous, because spaghetti at least like is nice to look at, and generally like has some sort of order to it.
And for those who just joined, and for those who may be new to it, you see our runner, or you see Demerine going to our favorite, one of our favorite sprites, Dr. Oon, who takes the slab. It's like Mutzi and hooked on phonics mushed together to teach you a different language. So Dr. Oon teaches you how to speak Finnish, which, sum it up, it really just says, here's a slab, then lupa lupa. You only have to hear one word to understand one word.
That summarized nothing, Joker. But to clarify and translate from Jokerese to human, Lefane is
Jokerisms?
Okay, Jokerism to human. The point is, Lefane is a town that you come to late in the game that is basically the remains of an ancient civilization. And their ancient and magical language that is incredibly tonal and really only has the sounds of lu and pa can only be understood by translating the slab combined with Dr. Une's decades of research. But once you have it, they will give you a chime, and that chime will allow you to access the Mirage Tower, which is the 4th dungeon in the game. Well, 4th major dungeon. Suffice it to say, you have to translate the slab and go get the chime if you want to beat the game. But speaking of things you need to beat the game, Demerine just picked up the Mystic Key from the Sleeping Elven Prince. And what the Mystic Key does is it unlocks about 4 doors that you know of in most of the game. However, there's also a 5th door that blocks access to the final dungeon that, when you normally play the game, you're always going to have the Mystic Key to unlock. But in Randomizer, you don't necessarily need anything out of any of those key lock doors. And so it's very easy to forget that you don't have the key. And Demerine has forgotten the key before. And Demerine will never forget the key again, and she'll probably yell at me for mentioning that she's forgotten the key before.
Yes, essentially, to answer chat's question, the slab is like Rosetta Stone. It takes 32 different languages and turns it into one. And we have Dem0nfr0g checking out what fires. I didn't see if they were unrunnable, but doing a little bit of a grind, which, well, not a grind, but just checking them out and getting a bit of experience. And everyone's least favorite enemy in the volcano, the red gargoyles.
Pretty much. The red gargoyles tend to get shuffled some really mean things, and they also tend to be very fast and get a lot of hits. And they can tend to come in large packs.
Sounds like my ex-girlfriends. Hey-oh!
Thank you, Joker. In Final Fantasy, it's one of those things, and especially the randomizer, the most dangerous enemies are the ones that get to act and get a lot of swings when they get to attack. And
fast, coming packed, hit me. Hey-yo! I promise, chat, this is just us having fun.
But
sorry,
yeah,
as I cut you off.
In any case, it's one of those things where basically things that get a lot of attacks or come in large numbers are always a pain in the butt. But, oh hey, we got a ribbon! So both runners are probably going to pick that one up, because if you're checking key lock chests, you're going to hit up Astos' castle.
So that brings me to a question I've always been wondering, and hopefully you can clarify it for me. How does a little piece of cloth become one of the best head armors in the game? Not like a helmet that you put on that protects your entire face, but a small piece of cloth that you can pick up at Michael's for like 99 cents. How does that protect you from everything?
It's called enchanting it with the wall spell, Joker. It's pretty basic, like magic item at ease.
So what you're telling me is that all I really need to do to be protected from everything out there is go to Michael's, buy myself a ribbon, and ask someone to enchant it. Hey, chat, does anyone know how to do enchantments?
It's a pretty complicated process. You might need to do a little bit of research, get a reputable practitioner. It's one of those things. It's not like the old days where you can just go down to your local establishment and, you know, get your stuff enchanted by a workshop of practitioners of different traditions. Hey, Cure 4's at level 5, as is the Life spell. And I think those were both white mage only slots.
And Warp. I believe Warp is a black mage only.
Oh, that is going to be unpleasant. Oh, I didn't even see heal 3. So, level 5 white magic pretty stacked.
Hey, Bill, do you mind logging onto your alt and becoming an enchanter, please? I would really appreciate it. And then can you give me plus speed to my shoes? Sorry, well, someone said in chat that they were an enchanter.
It's okay.
I mean, I really like Mongoose. Mongoose enchant was one of my favorite enchants when I was playing WoW. I mean, everyone knows that one. Come on.
So, while Demerine digs out these last few keylock chests, which I don't think we've seen anything too exciting out of the keylock chests, just some decent mid-range swords, and I guess the ribbon counts. Dem0nfr0g is going to go ahead and make his move toward the Castle of Ordeals. So, again, continuing this, in case you haven't played the original Final Fantasy, The Castle of Ordeals is a minor dungeon that is mandatory if you want to acquire the class change. Normally at the end of it, you will find a rat's tail, which will prove to the King of Dragons, Bahamut, your courage. In this case, it can be almost anything required for progress because of what we call incentivized chests.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Up the big point. The big thing that's coming up right here now on Dem0nfr0g's side is for those who have played the vanilla, you'll notice it's basically just go to the lowest pillar when you're in the Castle of Ordeals. Now what we've done is we've just shaken them up. And what that means is whatever pillar you go to, we don't know. We honestly don't know where it's going to be.
Pretty much. And so this is essentially a game of let's wander around in this maze of pillars. Now, if you have the warp spell handy, that is very convenient. But if you don't have the warp spell like our runners don't, this becomes an exercise in frustration. It used to be that you could get a soft lock in here, actually, if you went through too many pillars, thanks to the way the game kind of processed warps by pushing things to the stack and programmer jargon. But what our developers managed to do is find a way to rewrite how the game deals with warps to basically avoid that problem. So that soft lock was fixed because our development team is awesome. And to answer the question in chat, why would people be interested in working with Assembler? Because if you like programming, and you like Assembler, and you like 6502 Assembler especially, our dev team's always interested in getting some new eyes on the code and coming up with new and fun things to do. But speaking of new and fun things, Demerine found her way through the maze, so we get to find out what's in these chests.
All right. Well, what do you think? What are you thinking is going to be in this incentivized chest?
Vanilla Tail.
I am going to go with Rod. Because why not?
I mean, the rod's got to be somewhere. The rod is another item required for progress. It basically gives you access to the bottom half of the Earth-aligned dungeon.
Oh, Thor hammer and a second ribbon.
So Thor's hammer... go ahead.
I was going to say, Thor's hammer casts lightning 2 on the enemies, which is a great thing to have, as well as it is the best second best white mage weapon that they have. Best is always going to be Massive.
Yeah, but Demerine and Silverfire are about the only two runners I can think of who are likely to put the Masamune on the white mage for more than a few seconds. Masamune being the best sword in the game, equipable by every class in the game. Dem0nfr0g also now through. So, yeah, one of the other fun things with Final Fantasy, as we kind of touched on with the heal staff, certain weapons and armor can be used in combat to cast certain spells. Usually it's going to be the level 2 magics of each element, but you also have swords that'll cast instant death effects, one staff that casts confusion, one sword that casts a defensive spell, and a gauntlet that casts the best buffing spell in the game. So, yeah, long story short, the Thor's Hammer is an incredibly good item to find, especially if you haven't been to the Water Dungeon yet, because a lot of enemies there predictably are weak to lightning. And what we just saw Demerine pick up is the Katana, which is the best non-Masamune weapon for the Thief's class change, the Ninja. So, yeah. Long story short, we're looking at basically sell fodder when it comes to the katana. It's not going to do this group any good because they didn't bring a thief.
Thief class, best class.
I am
for everyone.
Yeah, I am personally a fan of the thief. The thief, if you put him at the front of your party, can help avoid ambushes, occasionally get you a first strike. And when you transform the thief, they become a ninja. Ninjas can equip basically everything the fighter can, but they also get to cast black magic. Whereas the fighter, when he class changes, gets to equip more stuff the fighter can, and gets a little bit of white magic.
I was gonna answer the question for Luke in the chat. I wasn't sure, and Zar just answered the question himself. For everyone, just so you know, if Zar does chime in, he is one of the sages, or circle of sages, in the Final Fantasy I randomizer community. He will have a lot of information as well for myself who may be lacking or if Wout misses the answer.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you know, as I'm sure y'all have noticed, there's a lot of knowledgeable people with regard to Final Fantasy Randomizer in chat right now. And it is one of those things, we have a lot of people in this community who know a lot about this game. Some of it is just from experience, some of it is because, you know, it is not uncommon for folks to literally crack open the source code because we can go look at it.
Except for, I'm still trying to get him to go away from the Vorpal sword being the best sword, because it's still trash.
Let it go, Joker. They haven't even found the Vorpal yet this seed.
Isn't that a good Disney song? I love it. Let it go. Let it go.
I would like to apologize to the Speed Gaming audience. I have no control over this man.
The cold never bothered me anyway.
My deepest apologies. On the bright side, at least we don't have to worry about getting a copyright strike for that. That requires the algorithm to recognize that as music.
As well as be on key, and by far that is off key.
That was my point, Joker. That was my point.
So,
we see Demerine is completing a few of what we like to call the fetch quests. So, normally in Final Fantasy, you have to...
Sorry, but Laser Break 219 don't want to just throw you aside. Thank you for your subscription. We do appreciate you. We do enjoy your emotes.
Yeah, no, by all means, that is a worthy reason to throw me to the side. But yeah, normally in Final Fantasy, you have to complete a few quests in order to gain access to the later dungeons. The Ruby we talked about before, you have to dig out of the Earth Cave, take it to the Titan, feed it to the Titan, go to Sarda. Sarda gives you the rod that you need to finish Earth Cave. The Water Dungeon, the Sea Shrine, requires you to go buy a bottle from a mysterious caravan owner, use it to free a fairy that's trapped in the bottle. The fairy gives you what's called the Oxyel, which lets you breathe underwater, giving you access to the water dungeon. Demerine just went and got her chime, which, as I mentioned before, is necessary to access the air dungeon.
Okay. We got Demerine, a part of Team Steak here. Can we get some Team Steak love up in chat? Well, you would be on Team Steak, right? Salt, pepper, about 8 minutes each side, medium rare.
I am Team Coin Flip. I prefer to let the dice gods decide if the Tyro lives or dies.
Just wait. Just wait till that Tyro casts nuke on you. You're always going to want to be on Team Steak after that. And we got 2 steaks for the price of 1 tonight. Hi, so please. We all eating, fam. We all eating.
So for those of you who are wondering why Joker is talking about eating dinosaur, one of the other schisms in the Final Fantasy Randomizer community is whether do you kill the Tyro and its buddy the Wyvern if you crave some steak and wings, or do you let the poor thing live because it is an endangered species that also has very tiny arms? Some folks are Team Tyro and let the Tyro live. Some folks, such as my co-commentator, are Team Steak and prefer to destroy the Tyro at every opportunity. And some folks, like me, are Team Coin Flip and will sometimes run and sometimes kill the Tyro depending on how I currently feel. And Demerine having that cube and chime in hand is going to go ahead and hit up the Mirage Tower. What do you think of this play, Joker?
We're eating tonight, fam. We're eating tonight. I actually think it's a good move on Demerine's part because it is, you know, it opens up a lot of opportunity and a lot of chests that are out there for Demerine. So you really can't go wrong. A lot of free chests. I don't expect Demerine to dig too deep into this. Probably going to check the first floor, second floor, then jump on out because of just the density of chests.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes ahead and digs a little bit deeper. She's got some decent equipment. She's got not a great spell selection, but a respectable one. She doesn't find a lot on the first floor, though. And if you can take a few of these fights here in the Mirage Tower in the Sky Castle, you'll do well. Speaking, though, of things that are found, Dem0nfr0g just dug the power gauntlets out of the ice cave. Now, the ice cave is another one of those dungeons that, if you've played the original Final Fantasy, you shudder in the face of. The randomizer sometimes takes the teeth off of it, though, because a lot of the nastier things the enemies could do are elsewhere now. Sometimes it doesn't. We've seen quite a few nasty ice caves in the last 24, 36 hours.
Yeah, my run was not nice on the ice cave. There were some little mummies that weren't too pretty, and the second ice sword, not to be looked over on Dem0nfr0g's side. I would say that's the second best. Well, again, we're throwing maximum out of this, but the third best sword or second best sword behind the sun for a pre-clash change.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things too. Let's see. So yeah, it's one of those things, if you have the warp spell, you could actually skip digging out these lower level chests. All warp does is move you back a floor to the spot where you went down to the previous floor. If you drop into one of these holes here and use warp, you'll just pop out of the hole you fell down, and you'll just stand on it. And as a direct result, you can just check that chest that Dem0nfr0g just got the rod out of. Normally, that's where you get the floater from.
I don't want to let Glitch29, do not want to let your question go by the wayside. So how do you win this game? Does it require a whole collection of bosses / dungeons, or are they just looking for something in particular? So to win this game, you're going to notice on the bottom these 4 circular orbs that on each one of them. You'll kill 4 bosses, each of them being Lich, Carry, Kraken, and Tiamat, which will light these 4 orbs, which will allow you to go back in time, now catch this, 2,000 years, to refight them again. And then once you're done that, you fight the ultimate boss, Chaos. Well, you say that, but you have to beat 4 bosses, they go back in time and beat them all again, and then beat the person that sent them back to the future. And time travel is just put that out of the mind in how it works. But you kill a bunch of bosses, and then you got to go back and kill them again.
Pretty much. And so yeah, it's one of those things. The plot of Final Fantasy is... It is somehow both simple and incredibly convoluted. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. So...
I was going to say, I'm a multiverse theory. So every time that you send in... I've thought about this before. Every time that in chat... This goes for you too, and we'll get ready. Buckle up, my partner. It's gonna get full Joker here. What happens? Do you create an alternate timeline in universe when you go back every time, and that's why we continuously have these matches going through and going through and going through? Or in fact, are you going back to the same timeline? I am on the side of it's a multiverse, so you're just creating another parallel, same type of community or universe.
Joker, you're thinking about the plot of Final Fantasy. That's your first mistake. Second of all, it's a time loop, so obviously this isn't a multiversal setup. You're simply... the universe is simply going through the same 2,000-year cycle from the perspective of the progenitor of the cycle, who starts it in the present, sends himself back to the past so that he can proceed to set into motion the events that allow him to start the cycle in the first place.
So to answer Fuchsia's question, sorry to interrupt, Demerine is going back, only checking those first two and then heading out.
Yeah, see, she might not feel like she's ready for the Sky Castle yet. It is the last dungeon you're expected to get to in the vanilla game. She is, however, going to head over to the waterfall on-rack area. This is one of the more... I would say this is probably kind of the easiest of the mid-range areas to deal with. Or I guess the easiest of the end-game areas. On-rack...
Sorry, go ahead.
On-rack and the waterfall can have some nasty stuff. And normally, you have to come to this waterfall and chat with a robot to get a cube to activate a teleporter to go to the Sky Castle. It's a whole production. In this case, the robot will have one of our other progressive items, or possibly the tail.
And I'm telling you, it's completely side topic as we're getting the vampire and we're getting Demerine to dig for the waterfall after your wonderful explanation. Oh, poison! Was that on Dem0nfr0g side that the vampire has?
Yeah, normally the vampire, not a very difficult opponent. This time the vampire actually puts up a fight. And, oh god, we're going to be dealing with packs of vampires in the late game.
Vampire, actually bad. So, there we go. The night is complete. I finally got Wout after 3 times of doing commentating with him. He finally laughed.
It had to happen eventually, Joker.
I broke you down. You have joined the side of the darkness.
Don't count it happening too much.
And for those who are not familiar, Wout has seemed to undoubtedly drawn the short straw to commentate with me 3 times in a row, and he has yet to find a efficient way of keeping me in line. Few have tried, many have succeeded, and not have succeeded.
See, the wine's getting to you. So
No. I'm just coming up with more Jokerisms.
So, go ahead.
Like Yogi-isms. They make no sense whatsoever, but just sound really funny.
So, Dem0nfr0g is getting deeper into the Earth Cave. This is technically the first dungeon you're supposed to encounter in the game. And so the Earth Cave kind of tends to be a bit of a joke in the randomizer community, just because by the time you actually bother doing Earth Cave, you usually have pretty good equipment. You've got some pretty strong spells because of the spell shuffle. And you got the levels to where normally the cockatrices don't kill you with one look. But
yes, Age of Shield, huge pickup. Sorry to interrupt there. The Age of Shield, for those who are wondering how it would be a big pickup, there's 3 ribbons, but then there are 2 forms of armor that once we come across them, we'll kind of describe. Age of Shield is one of them. Dragon Armor is another, and they protect against most elemental damages.
Pretty much. I don't think anything would have helped with that glare, but I always love when the cockatrices actually get something rude like glare or gaze or, you know, something that just makes life miserable.
And it seems like that group typically does have a unfavorable spell, skill, something along those lines, and our friendly robot giving the tail. Oh,
and the Mosmune!
And for those who are wondering why that same reaction for myself in Wout, it's because Masu is undoubtedly, unquestionably, and unfathomably, unequivocally, the best sword out there.
Absolutely. Its damage is far and above everything else. Its bonus to hit percent is far and above everything else. Its crit rate's alright, but you don't need a crit rate when you hit like a truck, which the Mosmune lets you do. Basically, finding the Mosmune gives you a shot if the Temple of Fiends Revisited turns out to be a problem.
And plus, it makes you 100% more attractable to your desired partners. And plus 200 to coolness. It's better than those sunglasses that hipsters wear.
Well, Speaking, though, of attractive finds, we are at the first major boss of the game. So as we mentioned, there are 4 fiends you have to take down. Lich is the first of them, and if he survives by the end of this sentence, I'll be surprised. And there we go.
Major in quotations.
He's more of a problem in the original game where he can bust out the strongest spells.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, in Randomizer, Lich basically just kinda... He's there. He might live 2 rounds if you get unlucky rolls. But he doesn't get very far.
Whoa, Firestar. Excalibur is annoying? No, Excalibur is fantastic. The second best sword in my eyes.
Yeah, the Excalibur, basically, it targets a weakness to any element in the game. If a monster has a weakness, then the Excalibur does bonus damage against them. In addition, it also has a really good hit percent and a strong base damage. It is a knight-only weapon, knight being what the fighter turns into after class change. And so it is a sword that, if you find it in Masamune, you're pretty set in terms of melee damage.
Definitely. And to answer Amazing Amphros' question, which, by the way, shout out, thank you for your content you provide, Amazing Amphros. I do like your Zelda 1 randomizer stuff in Zelda 1. You're very entertaining. But when it comes to Fist, yes, there is one party member who can be very effective, and that's the Black Belt. We're not seeing so much when it comes to the spring tournament because the experience grind has kind of changed. In the previous installment of the Final Fantasy 1 randomizer, you saw almost everyone bring a Black Belt, grind them up to 38, 32, or 42, somewhere in that range, and then just one-punch everything. He became the one-punch man, or class cannon. And now you're seeing a less of a experience boost and a more, well, this kind of party is coming out. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
But, I mean, it's a necessary answer. There are people who I'm sure saw the last tournament we did, and even the Final Fantasy League, and are used to seeing those black belt strats.
So, Luke, to answer your question, speedrunners never sport the black belt unless it's forced. At this point in time, yes. There is a very rarity that you see the black belt forced. In the previous version of the randomizer tournament, you almost exclusively saw that as everyone ran that. But because of the experience boost and a couple other potential factors, you don't see that as much because it will take a little bit longer to grind that black belt up to the required levels.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's one of those things, it's not that the black belt is worse than it was before, it's that these flags are less favorable to grinding the black belt up. And somehow in the midst of all this talking about all this other stuff, I didn't even notice Demerine get down to Kraken's floor in the Sea Shrine.
No, definitely. In Sea Shrine, I'm kind of upset that Demerine didn't go out and see my favorite girls, your favorite girls. Definitely going to be Rainbow's favorite girls, Poogle's favorite girls, sorry, the mermaids.
So, for those of you who are, again, unfamiliar with this game, the Sea Shrine actually has... You start off on the 3rd floor of Sea Shrine, and you pick between going up and down. If you go up, you eventually wind up on what's called the Mermaid Floor. It's a floor that has no encounters, a bunch of chests, and some very lovely ladies, as Joker will tell you forever and a day. If you go down, you eventually reach the depths of the ocean, where the monstrous Kraken is waiting for you. And some folks like to call Kraken the true boss of Final Fantasy Randomizer in both his forms. Either form of Kraken gets a ludicrous number of hits, and can occasionally just get some incredibly rude stats.
So Mr. Weird Guy, sorry to cut you off. Well, sorry, finish. It's
Yeah.
being answered in chat anyways.
Yeah, so long story short, Demerine might get through Kraken in a few attacks, or Demerine might take a wipe to Kraken, and both are equally possible, even with the relatively like low-key flags we have, because Kraken is just that strong. Dem0nfr0g, meanwhile, is going after the Fiend of Fire, Carrie. She is generally not too big a threat, although her only real weakness is the confusion, the status element, which includes things like confusion, mute, and a few other things. So we're going to see both of these runners get into these Fiend fights here at the same time, just about.
And to answer the question, it's kind of been answered already in chat. I'm a huge thief fan. I'm all about bringing a thief when at all possible. Again, these flags, it's not favorable to do so, but a thief does allow you for better running. In later versions, the thief is arguably the best class because it does exactly what it was designed to do, because it allows you to have a higher crit rate and do more damage. But in this, because of, we'll call it the features, in quotation marks, it didn't have those. It wasn't the best well-designed. And Demerine on her side, knocking down Kraken.
Exactly. And one thing that probably you might have noticed is both runners opted to shuffle their party members around before the fight. The way that Final Fantasy I decides who to attack is it's a weighted dice roll based on party position. So the first two characters, I believe, are twice as likely as the back two characters to get attacked. And so, go ahead.
I do apologize. I actually have that. I've listened to one of the runners. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The Final Fantasy, standard holder, Gyre. Sorry. He says it's 50% for the first runner to be hit, 25% for the second runner to be hit, and then 3 and 4, it's about 12.5% each. So more than likely, that person in the first spot, it is going to be hit than the others. So you effectively put a tank up there.
Yeah. So thank you, Joker. I'm glad you had the actual numbers. And as soon as you started talking, it was like, oh yeah, that is it. So the thing is, you don't want your main damage dealer at the front, even if it is your tank, when going up against particularly rough bosses, like this Carrie appears to be, who has Blizzard. Holy cow. But yeah, so it's one of those things, you don't necessarily want your tank up front for stronger bosses. So you'll shuffle more expendable party members up front, like these red mages. And especially the third slot, like Joker said, both third and fourth slots have about a 12.5% chance of being targeted, but I believe the fourth slot has a slightly higher chance just because of how binary works. Or something. I don't actually know why the third slot has a slightly lower chance of being targeted, but it does. So you usually stick the party member you least want to get hit in the third slot just for that marginally lower shot. Question in chat?
Yeah, technically the third slot is the best slot to be in.
Yeah, question in chat, how does turn order work? In a manner that has caused the dev team to ask a lot of deep questions about, like, what the meaning of life is. I don't remember the specifics, but it is basically... the game picks an order and then proceeds to flip people around at random until it has flipped them around enough times, is the easy way to put it. So there is a alteration to the turn order shuffle that does get a little more variation, but we are not... seeing it in these flags, because I think it was added after the tournament started. As for why Demerine didn't do the class change yet, as Fuchsia Fantasy pointed out in chat, she doesn't necessarily need to promote. She has most of the spells she wants already accessible. But it is one of those things where I am having a brain fart. It is one of those things, too, where she hasn't really passed by the promotion spot since she got the tail. So it may just be a routing decision. She doesn't need to class change for the early dungeons, and she would have to go out of her way to do it. But she is now on the Fiend of Air Tiamat, who is usually, as you can see, a lot more fragile than Kraken can be. So that's going to be her second orb. And yeah, it's one of those things, if you are interested in the internal workings of Final Fantasy I, just like why it does the weird things it does, because it does a lot of weird things, you definitely should consider joining on our Discord. I'm sure the link is going to be floating around here soon enough. If only because the devs really do enjoy talking about the randomizer and about, you know, how Final Fantasy works. And if you do happen to be, you know, someone who knows a thing or two about coding, they're always willing to sit down and talk about, you know, thorny problems that Final Fantasy creates, because Final Fantasy has a lot of problems.
Sorry about that. My dog was going a little bit crazy. I don't know what got into him. Maybe he had a little bit too much maple syrup.
Joker. You
come on. You've never
less
seen
Canadian
Super Troopers?
dogs.
They get all antsy in their pantsy.
So, okay, I admit I haven't been paying the best attention to pickups, but going by our tracker, has Dem0nfr0g found any of the ribbons yet? Like, I feel like he has to have, but I may have just missed them and didn't mark them on the tracker.
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure, because Dem0nfr0g has finished Water and Earth Cave.
Now, he's finished the Volcano and Earth Cave. But, like, I'm trying... Oh. It may just be that our tracker may have just kind of missed the ribbons there.
We'll double check.
And we forgive him.
And you know what? There are very far worse things that could happen.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. You know, give your props to Cyclone in chat. He is helping with the restream and also doing the tracking for us, in spite of never having looked at a Final Fantasy tracker before. So, you know, throw some GGs his way.
Yes, and definitely give Cyclone a follow, please. Really nice guy. And if you like Wode's voice, definitely give Wode a follow. Wode's a really nice guy. He's put up with, you know, some shenanigans for a little bit too much. And definitely give our runners a follow as well.
Yeah, and, you know, while you're at it, if the Joker's sense of humor somehow appeals to you, you need to throw him a follow while you're at it. Demerine, meanwhile, does grab her rod out of Ice Cave. I don't think there was a whole lot down here that she's missed out on, but
it's really nothing from the way that it appears. It's just kind of that. And I believe Dem0nfr0g has gotten the Masa out of Waterfall.
Yeah, that was where Demerine picked up her Masa as well, so.
And to answer the question, Mr. Weird Guy, definitely join. If nothing else, you get to hear and get a lot of input on this game. It's a very inviting community. It has grown leaps and bounds from even 9-10 months ago.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you don't need to be a runner to join in with us. I actually don't run this game, except, you know, casually. So it's one of those things, you know, all levels of people who enjoy the randomizer are welcome there. So, by all means, feel free to join us there.
And on Thursdays, we all get ice cream. I mean, you have to buy the ice cream and sit and join the ice cream social party, but I mean, ice cream!
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to again remind you that Joker is... Well, the name really says it all, doesn't it?
It's actually a name. Very commonly, I'll clear something up. I get asked if it's from Batman. It's not from Batman. It's actually from a little band called Steve Miller Band. And The Joker was one of their songs. And growing up, it was one of my favorite songs, even though it was made when I was a little child. But let's just say I had a little bit of fun while listening to that. And The Joker comes from that song.
You realize that song is going to be stuck in my head every time I do commentary with you from now on, right?
Good, because that's where it really comes from. It's not Batman. Everyone always asks, like, where's Rachel? Are you a Batman fan? No, I'm really not. It's just kind of one of those things.
Well, we're going to see how Demerine handles this Carrie fight. Dem0nfr0g spent a little longer than we usually see Carrie take.
What's that? Laugh. Well, I need to talk like Batman. Batman.
Fine, yes, it was another laugh.
It's Batman.
Dang it, Joker. We're supposed to be professionals.
Oh, heck no. Not professional. Chat, do you want professional Joker? We're sitting here talking, going through and saying, oh, we got Demerine on Carrie. The massive move did
okay.
to destroy them. Or do you want the actual Joker?
Okay, I think it was just Dem0nfr0g not having the Mosmute and having to take out Carrie with the Ice Sword, because that went really quickly. Regardless, we've got Dem0nfr0g doing a little more digging in Sea Shrine than I think Demerine did. I don't think she checked those two chests, and they were garbage anyway, so who cares?
To answer the other question in chat, I am only professional between the hours of 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I'm at my job. Other than that, it's just have fun. Amphros, I was more of a Christopher Nolan Batman fan. I was definitely not a fan of Danny DeVito being Penguin or whoever the Penguin. No, it wasn't Danny DeVito. But Arnold Schwarzenegger as Captain Freeze, not fun.
And that was a sudden change of volume. But it's all good. See, I would still expect that we're going to see Demerine do that class change, just because being able to stick that Life 2 on her knight, in case she picks up some... Actually, no, she's not going to pick up any spell charges at this point. Yeah, she just must be confident that those 3 life charges are good enough. But she is now into Earth Cave, and as we saw on Dem0nfr0g's side, this is a joke when you don't have the Mosmune and plenty of firepower.
And to answer the question in chat, what killed the dinosaurs, I will just refer you to a 90s TV show that had the saddest ending. It was called Dinosaurs. If you don't at least tear up and get a little dusty at the ending, from the baby dinosaur asking Mama and Papa Dinosaur why it's getting cold, then I feel for you.
I mean, the actual answer there is Team Steak killed the dinosaurs.
Team Steak did not kill baby dinosaur.
I mean, y'all kill the Tyros, and, you know, they're out there trying to provide for their families. You indirectly probably killed their descendants. I see I have stunned you into silence.
You have got me laughing a little bit.
What, just because I play the straight man most of the time doesn't mean I can't give as good as I get.
To steal a line from Archer, phrasing.
We're still doing phrasing. So, meanwhile, Dem0nfr0g is almost to Kraken.
You broke me.
Well, Demerine is going to find out the bad news that she may be dealing with the poison damage vampires when we get down to the air floor. Or she might not. Vampire leads off with Fire 2 and is not going to live very long after that.
Oh, Land Before Time, that was a sad movie as well.
So, the long and short of it, though, is, as we mentioned, when you get to the Temple of Fiends, you face off against the Fiends a second time. The other thing, though, is you face off against the contents of their dungeons as well. Which means that things like finding out that cockatrices have glare, well, cockatrices don't show up in Temple of Fiends Revisited, but finding out that vampires have the damaging poison attack is something that is useful to find out before you get to the floor they're on. And to explain why we're calling it the damaging poison effect, there are actually two skills in this game called poison. One just deals a ridiculous amount of damage. The other turns you to stone. Neither one of them is good, but it helps differentiate whether it's the one that, you know, you have to worry about in fight, or the one that you have to worry about in fight and then fix immediately afterward because the stone effect makes you effectively dead.
So, question for you. Dem0nfr0g just casted Fog 2, supposed Invis. Invis makes it easier to dodge, where Fog 2 increases your armor. I'm a big Fog 2 fan. Woat, on your side, are you a Invis 2 or a Fog 2 individual?
I am an Invis 2 fan. It is a lot easier to not take damage when they can't hit you. Also,
strats being taken care of on that side too.
Yeah. Also, it's just one of those things where, you know, armor just does not do as much as you really want it to in this game. Like, building up the absorb you need to be able to deal with the amount of hits you're taking just isn't worth it. And beyond that, as I mentioned kind of at the beginning of this, during one of your Vorpal rants, a critical hit is going to just ignore your absorb anyway. And with as many hits as enemies like Kraken get, they're going to get a crit. And all those Fog 2 casts mean nothing. Whereas Invis 2 and Ruse, those at least get you out of the way of danger. Unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the Defense Sword or the White Shirt this run.
We have not seen either one of them. And yes, the worst sword Czar has not been seen either. Vorpal is trash.
So yeah, it's one of those things, if you don't have Invis 2, Fog 2 at least takes some of the teeth off of the enemies. But if you do have Invis 2 at your disposal, Fog 2 is something for your white magic casters to do.
We're seeing Demerine going into Temple of Fiends Revisited right now. I don't know the full weapon and armor breakdown, but she's got Massimum and decent coverage in armor, so let's see how this goes.
Alright, chat correcting us. We did have someone pick up the White Shirt, and it's Dem0nfr0g, and I can see that on his screen now. White Shirt is the best armor available to the White Mage. It does reduce, or it does give resistance to certain forms of attack. I think it's like, I don't know, ice and something else status maybe. It's not very good elemental defenses, but it's, you know, it still does a little bit better than just slapping a gold bracelet on her and calling it good.
Gas Dragon's available to be run from, so that's going to be a nice one, but they are hitting hard. It's like,
you know, we really haven't seen a lot of unrunnables this seed, or at least trolley unrunnables.
Yeah, and that's going to be the kind of scary point, is are they going to hit unrunnables on the water floor or no? The other thing is we haven't seen, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't seen Nuke nuke twice, or nuclear, or even Cure 4.
Well, we haven't even seen War Mech yet, so we wouldn't have seen any of that. So, the way that attack shuffles are done, most of the attacks in the game are shuffled among all the enemies. The only exception to this is the abilities split between the 4 Fiend Refights, the final boss Chaos, and the optional encounter War Mech. Demerine did not bump into War Mech on the Bridge of Destiny, which is what we call the room before Tiamat. Dem0nfr0g is on his way to facing Tiamat right now. Well, he's heading to the air dungeon, then he'll be heading to Tiamat. So we still have a chance to see War Mech. But those 6 enemies share their skills amongst each other. War Mech contributes a non-elemental attack called Nuclear, which does exactly what it sounds like. There are also 2 castings of the spell Nuke, which people who keep up with later Final Fantasy games might know as Flare. And there's also a few other nasty spells spread out among them, but those are the Nuke and Nuclear are the skills you do not want to bump into. Along with the spell Cure 4, which is a full heal. Normally on Chaos, but it could drop anywhere.
And Dem0nfr0g is Team Steak. And for those who are tuning in, be like, why does it say Steak on Dem0nfr0g's side? That is because Dem0nfr0g has used the Team Steak flag, the best flag and the right flag you need to use, and that takes the Tyro with a big head and small little nubby arms and turns it into a steak. Remember, 7 minutes each side, medium rare, get you a good sear. It's delicious.
And as promised, Lich 2 is about as much of a threat as Lich 1.
And steak is delicious and nutritious. If you don't believe us, you can ask the dishes and just be our guest. Be our guest.
You're trying to get this channel in trouble with Disney, aren't you? Also,
Disney is not coming for us. Uh-oh, Mickey Mouse here, coming for you.
Meanwhile, unrunnable fires on Demerine's side. Depending on how the encounter rate turned out, this could prove interesting. So the way that Final Fantasy 1 handles encounters, again, for those of you playing along at home, more or less, you have formations that occur in a set order in the encounter table. So what these flags have done is, first of all, shuffle up how the encounter table looks, but second of all, shuffle up the frequency with which different encounter groups occur. So where normally an encounter might only be seen 1 in every 64 encounters, in these flags, you may get into a situation where you're seeing the rare encounter, you know, every 2nd or 3rd encounter in a given area.
And Troper, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. Troper was one of the first developers in this game, and if he says it, it is true. Pyros are food, not friends. You heard it here first. Will Cleosis has it right as well. People gotta eat. We eatin' tonight, fam. With as many steaks have been done, we eatin' tonight.
So, one thing that I just realized, the Power Gauntlet was in the part of Ice Cave that Demerine just ran past, wasn't it?
I believe that's correct, because Demerine does not have the Power Gauntlet.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about if I, had forgotten to light that up, but I think she actually did just run past. I think it was in the 6th chest room in Ice Cave. So, that may come into play. Power Gauntlet casts the spell Saber, which increases the target's attack and accuracy. In the vanilla game, it is generally only accessible to black magic casters, with the exception of whoever has the Power Gauntlet, which is another one of those castable items, and it will cast it on whoever's using it, because Saber is a self-targeted spell. So the Power Gauntlet, or Power Bonk, as we like to call it in the community, is basically your ticket to overcoming anything that the game throws at you that's particularly rude. Now, we do have a lot of casts of Temper and a lot of casts of Fast, so we might not need the Power Gauntlet to get through this.
Dem0nfr0g
Kraken,
Destiny, by the way.
Yeah, if you do want to see that War Mech fight, feel free to throw some Bless RNGs in chat. you'll have your chance. I don't think Dem0nfr0g missed both ribbons, but we'll probably see here in a second. Kraken 2, not the gatekeeper today, though.
Yes, can we get some Warmack hype up in here? Please?
No Warmack, boo. We may see it after Tiamat, but
probably don't.
Not before.
Right now.
But we are going to get some Tiamat double vision.
Double vision! Isn't that a song from the 80s?
I believe so. I think early 80s, but anyway. We are seeing double Tiamats right now. Demerine fighting the second iteration, while Dem0nfr0g is taking on Tiamat 1.
And yeah, Temple of Fiends Revisited to not cast a curse. It has not been too crazy. Just
yeah.
That. I mean, we did have someone besides Nora roll this seed, so it's not going to be truly like the 3 seeds that were rolled last night, Nora.
Well, Cyclone was responsible for the Minochi Ice Blue race.
Yeah, well, Nora, I'm looking at you. You're responsible for mine. Thanks.
Question in chat, are the rematch fights harder? Generally speaking, yes. Ooh, and Tiamat 2 demonstrating that they are much harder. So, Demerine is now in what we like to call hero mode. She only has the 1 fighter left, and no access to fast, no access to tempo, no access to saber. She's just relying on her fighter's raw ability and the Masamune to carry this through.
So Tiamat had nuclear? Like a nuclear arsenal's gonna do well. I can't say nuclear, correct? And it looks like Demerine's gonna have a good amount of damage done.
Okay, Joker, Joker, you're just gonna need to stop.
I know, I was trying to do the nuclear. But
I know what you were doing.
Yeah, you catch it.
So, but yeah, normally the refights are... Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a race.
Go pop some popcorn, ladies and gents, because buckle up, it's gonna be a fun time.
So yeah. Okay. So that is what could happen. So, like I said, there's some nasty abilities that can get shuffled around amongst the 4 Fiend refights, Chaos, and Warmech. And sometimes, though, all those abilities just kind of wind up in a couple of spots. And sometimes those spots are hard.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna call that a Caster's Curse on our side. So, real talk right now, Woe. That just happened to you. You're on Demerine's side. You're not seeing a finish with Dem0nfr0g. Do you go into a little bit more of a level grind or check a couple more chests to potentially, get some other stuff there, or just say, forget it, let's go again?
Nah. Demerine is sitting comfortably at around level 20 or 21. I normally, with the Swiss flags, I've generally been diving Temple of Fiends Revisited with 18 and 19 on my party. Like, you pick up some levels along the way just from fights you have to take, and more importantly, you can win, especially with those spells. She just got really unlucky with having that fighter, no real defensive casting. If she were able to layer that fast and temper on, she probably would be able to get away with a bit more damage on Chaos.
So the other question is, do you go and look for Exfer to remove... Now, doesn't Exfer remove elemental protections?
Well, I don't go look for Exfer because I always pick Exfer up. But sorry, I don't think she's going to do anything other than keep diving. She knows that she can tear through most of this temple without breaking a sweat. She has the Life 2 charges. She just needs someone to survive who can cast it, which is everyone who isn't the fighter. Demon Frog, on the other hand, may have a little bit of an edge here just because I think he does have a couple of charges of life too on that night, and definitely has on everyone else. But yeah, it's definitely a situation with what Demerine's got at her disposal. She can win that chaos fight. She just has to get... And there's dragon armor in the validation chests.
That pair with the Aegis shield is going to be very helpful.
Alright, so Demon Frog does have one ribbon.
Essentially two with the Aegis shield.
Yeah, Aegis plus Pro Ring plus Dragon Armor. So Dragon Armor protects you from the big three elements. Fire, Ice, and Lightning. Aegis Shield gives you protection from the Petrification/Poison element, whereas the Pro Ring protects you from death. And so between those, you pretty much are protected from everything except status, earth, and time, all of which are relatively rare elements.
Unless you're going 88 miles per hour, then the time element is really important. Or unless you trip over a flux capacitor.
Yeah, I haven't caught a glimpse of Demon Frog's levels, but I'm sure we'll see that before the carry fight when he goes to heal. But it's one of those things, Demon Frog definitely has an equipment advantage, I feel like, at this point. His fighter's very well protected, he's got that white shirt and that power bonk, so he's got those extra useful casts. Demerine has the knowledge advantage at the moment. Demon Frog has not seen all the nastiness that this Temple of Fiends has in store for him quite yet. I don't know, whose position would you rather be in right now, Joker?
Well, I would rather be in Demerine's because you know what's coming along, but I'm used to being in Demon Frog's side and just kind of, blissfully going through Temple of Fiends Revisited going, this is interesting. Don't know what's happening because my opponent has not finished. But knowing what's happening, I'd rather be on Demerine's side, but with the cast of spells, having life 2 on your fighter, I'd rather have Demon Frog. So spells, Demon Frog, knowledge, Demerine.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, I'd rather be in Demon Frog's position, personally. I like having like I said, I'm more of a casual, I like having that extra bit of casting, and I also especially like being able to have life 2 on my fighter. I believe that there are folks who like to refer to that sort of setup as a Hydra party, because as long as one member survives, you're in good shape, and carry 2 swinging hard at that fighter, good lord. That was 6 hits for like 400 damage, and oh! Demon Frog just resets out rather than trying to win that fight without the Masamune.
Would you say that maybe it's a firework?
No. No, I wouldn't.
Another great song by Katy Perry. Perry. Come on, Katy, Carrie, Katy. You know.
Yeah, I know who you mean, but yeah, so
baby, you're a firework. Well, we have to entertain ourselves at some point, as we're entering.
This is plenty entertaining here, Joker. We do not need to entertain ourselves. We're dealing with a Tiamat that's packing some nuclear weaponry and Swirl, which is a non-elemental attack, so ribbons do nothing.
Can we send the UN in to investigate Tiamat too?
I mean, we could, but I don't think those inspectors are going to fare very well against a multi-headed dragon goddess. Or the mother of all monsters, depending on if you're going at it from a D&D or Mesopotamian perspective.
But here's the thing. With Tiamat, if Tiamat is in fact using a weapon of mass destruction, we have to find it, we have to stop her, and then we'll go from there. On Demerine's side, going with the getting through Tiamat 2 with 4 alive warriors. big thing there, you saw Demerine. She was getting prepared to cast Cure 4 on her fighter to make sure that it did end up staying alive through another hit.
I have to wonder if Demerine was almost hoping the red mages would go down just so she could use the best healing spell in the game.
What would that be?
That being Life 2, because Life 2 picks you up and heals you to full without any extra effort. It's fast, it's efficient, it's the best thing you have.
And
Fortunately...
I was going to say, speaking of fast, with the 2 red wizards alive, as well as the white mage, you're going to not only be able to cast fast on your team members, you're also going to be able to cast Invis 2 or Fog 2 on your team. Oh, and hopefully you have a couple Cure 4s in the tank.
Now, here's a question for you, Joker. Would you have left those red mages up front, or would you have swapped your white mage to the front so that you can keep one of your buffers kind of in that safe spot for the first couple of rounds?
With the statistical breakdown of everything, I would rather just have one of the red mages up there, because you can have a Cure 4 available for yourself to heal up. So what about you? Would you move it around at all?
Oh, absolutely. The white mage, the white mage is helpful. You get a lot of healing out of them, but at the end of the day, that white mage is not necessarily going to get you out of this.
There he is! Chaos down! With an SRL time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 23 seconds. Get your GGs available. Get them up here in chat. Demerine wins.
Yeah, that is an official SRL time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 23 seconds.
I suspect we'll be joined by Demerine in the interview shortly.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things where, we're going to swap the audio over to Dem0nfr0g and keep going, because Dem0nfr0g has gotten into a little bit of a pickle here on the fire floor, but again, all of those Life 2 casts are going to come in incredibly handy.
89 of 241 chests were checked.
There's Demerine now, so she should be stepping in here in a minute. Hey, Demerine, GG.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure if that's a good laugh or a bad laugh for my first seed roll.
I can't say what I said in a different chat for the Final Fantasy IV people who have been watching, but it involved words that I'm not going to say on air, so woo!
Yeah, you're going to have to tell me what you said later then, but for the moment, you got through it. Dem0nfr0g has had a little bit worse luck so far in the Temple of Fiends. Carrie plastered his fighter.
Ooh, yeah, that's no good.
But,
yeah. I already, was looking at where I could be more efficient. I double-dipped literally, the entire world. Doubled back, hoping I could sell the Cure Staff, or the Heal Staff for enough money for a floater. I had to double-dip Volcano, obviously, for money. Double-dipped Sky, looking for a sword. That, of course, was waiting there in a free chest in Waterfall.
Oh, of course. One thing that we noticed, you did not bother to class change. Was that just you felt you had enough Life 2 and didn't want to take the time to go through all of that?
No, Cure 4 was in play. I had 18 charges of Life 2, which I would have never used 18 charges of Life 2, but I had them. I had Temper and Fast at realistic levels 1 and 3. I had Fog 2 available to the White Wizard at 5, or 4 or 5. And so I had all the tools, I just needed a sword. I had 2 ribbons, I had cheap gold bracelets, I had the pro rings as well. I had everything I wanted. So class change was just, class change is nice when you need when you need your knight to have the armor. If you get Dragon Armor Aegis Shield, lets you to redistribute your ribbons. There's a lot of reasons to not class change though, and if your spell selection's all in levels 1 through 4, then don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it worked out for you since the dragon armor turned out to be in the validation chests.
I'm glad I didn't open them then, because that would have been hilarious. I wouldn't have gone back, of course, but I just would have laughed at myself at that point, so thank you for letting me know that.
But yeah, so, chat is currently wondering why you let the Titan go hungry.
Sorry, Titan starved, save time.
It's like saving the frames, but killing a giant instead. Chris and Phoenix, meanwhile, is wondering why you kept putting them in the cannon fodder slot.
Cass, don't watch when I practice with a black belt for practice. You'd be very displeased.
See, the key is to get permission in advance from whoever you're going to Dan.
I'm not gonna Dan my girlfriend, that's bad!
By the way, Dem, Joker here.
Yes,
Good
sir.
job, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, Cyclone brought up a great question. How do you like your Tyro burger?
Medium rare, side of wings.
We're already friends.
So I'm just trying to think of other spots. Like, it's one of those things, it seems to me for the most part the seed flowed pretty easily right up until Tiamat plastered your entire party.
Yeah, as long as one mage survives, I don't care. And just the white mage, I think, was at like 200 health, and it was like a 230 hit on the white mage. I'm just like, the words I said at that point I cannot say on air either, so we won't.
And the other thing is, I hate to interrupt, but looks like Dem0nfr0g was able to take down Tiamat too, with a fighter and a red mage up, was able to cast Life 2 on the other red mage and white mage to get the full party members available. Now, Dem, question. You saw a fighter force. What made you bring the other 3 members?
White mage is, I feel, like a necessity, other than the fact that I name it after myself because of my own propensity for the class, but I feel that white mage is necessary. You don't want to get locked out of something that's going to be useful and end up paying off, because I'd otherwise been locked out of Fog 2, which was my endgame defensive spell. So white mage is a must, and then you'll notice that red mages have more health than black mages. It's just the one thing that really matters is the fact that they get out of nuclear range at level 20. So they have a very good chance of surviving Big Blast. You don't have to, like, over-level them or be concerned that your 235 health black mage is going to get obliterated.
You know, that's something I hadn't thought about before, mostly because I don't know any better. But yeah, so it's one of those things. What was your reasoning also for leaving your white mage in the back slot going up against Chaos? I know a lot of runners prefer to, you know, pull the white mage to the front because at that point, all they're really good for is fixing party members up in between attacks. And Dem0nfr0g also having an easy time on Chaos.
With a SRL time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 13 seconds. Get your GGs available in chat. Throw them Dem0nfr0g side.
I mean, I almost thought I was going to actually hold A and pray Chaos to death on my first run. I just wanted to get information on what he had, because I figured that he probably didn't have a ton of stuff, and when the nuke came out, I was a little displeased, but...
Yeah, you would have had Chaos on that first pass if any of your fast casters were up.
Yeah, because they had also been my Life 2 casters, and I'd have been 100% okay with, because I'd gone into full party, and, you know, fast in like 5 temper charges, and we get there, so.
But yeah, so, hopefully Dem0nfr0g will be joining us here in a few minutes, but in the meantime, though, it's just one of those things, like I said, it just feels like the seed, oh, you didn't get to see what the vampire had, because he pulled out Fire 2 instead of Damage Poison.
Yeah, I saw the Fire 2. I just, by the time I started seeing it, I was level 17 and just double ribboned and ice armored and shrugging it off, so.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, he also had damage poison.
Huh.
For once, the vampire in the Earth Cave actually posed a threat to somebody. Like, he kind of roughed up Dem0nfr0g's party a little bit, but Dem0nfr0g got through it anyway. Because he's still the vampire. He's kind of fragile. But yeah. So yeah, we're kind of just... Go ahead.
No, I saw a couple of familiar names in chat. I saw Kaznorf, who is not my brother officially, but is my brother, and so I guess he came out to support me, so that's awesome. I know he likes watching me commentate, but Jay, thank you. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. Silverfire's out there. I mean, again, Silverfire got me into the game. I see a bunch of the Final Fantasy IV folks out there, so thank you all for coming and watching, and that's always really exciting. And, you know, to everybody else here at Speed Gaming, Vote Joker, I think you did double duty. What were you tracking also?
A little bit. Cyclone picked up for me after a while, and I absolutely appreciate that, and I'm sure chat appreciates it too.
Absolutely. Of course, thank you to Cyclone, just for restreaming, you know, the services that you provide to the community, so thank you.
Yeah, and there was a question in chat, is there a way to watch this archived? The VOD should be available here on Twitch here in a little bit, and Speed Gaming's usually pretty good about getting VODs up in a couple of days on their YouTube channel, so yeah, don't worry, you will have ample opportunity to watch this match. And this was a really good match. So, Demerine, how did it feel actually playing someone who didn't participate in the last tournament for once?
I just wanted to prove I can put up good times against anybody. I felt like I had a good shot to win this race. It was like, I think the first time I had it felt like I was, you know, at least, you know, gonna be, you know, on par with the person I was racing against. Dem0nfr0g is really good. Watched a couple of their races, and, you know, they caught a couple of bad breaks down the line. So, you know, sometimes that's all it takes, and it ends up being kind of the difference in a lot of runs, so.
Sorry about that, just trying to make sure that we can get our other racer in here to get his thoughts on the seed.
And by the way, chat, if you like what you saw, definitely give our runners a follow. Again, thank you very much, Dem and Dem0nfr0g, when you're coming in here. Thank you for allowing us to commentate. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. And definitely give Speed Gaming a follow. That's very helpful to the Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer community.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I believe you're now, what, 3-1, Dem?
Yeah, that's win number 3. That's better than I expected to do when I came into this tournament, so...
Yeah, that puts you at least in for the play-in race. If you can manage to score a win next week, that will put you in the bracket phase for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, just you know, how a lot of runners, not just me, but a lot of runners have put themselves in this position from, you know, being really new to the community. You know, shout outs to Falconic, who watches all of my practices, and so I assume that I'm making him better. You know, it's not the fact that he keeps playing and playing with everybody, it's just that he watches my practice.
Oh, absolutely. You are an inspiration to us all. I'm not being too sarcastic with that. But yeah, no, you have come out swinging, because you picked this game up, what, 3 weeks before the tournament started?
Yeah, I started poking at it a little bit before that, but I didn't really start going in really hard until about, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks before it landed, so before the tournament started. So I put in a lot of work. And, you know, I did the same thing with Free Enterprise, so, like I got into Free Enterprise, and, you know, I wasn't good at it, so I hit the grind, and I worked it out. I watched other people run. I tell everybody this with randomizers: if you know the base game, like, even decently, you can learn the randomizer, and you can learn the randomizer at a really high level. So if you're a Final Fantasy 1 fan, I don't know why you're not playing this.
Absolutely. Still looking to see if we can get Dem0nfr0g in here. I think we should have him momentarily. Ah, there we go. Dem0nfr0g should be hopping up into the on-air. There we are. Dem0nfr0g, GG.
Not so much, but I got chaos, so.
Ah, yep. You posted about the average time for what we're looking at in this. Well, yeah, you're well within the average for this tournament. At least a standard deviation, maybe two.
I just made some poor decisions and poor routing. You could probably see a couple times I was halfway somewhere and just went, nope, turn around. Let me go do that first.
Demerine did the same thing.
I do that all the time.
But GG Demerine, you get to live to play another day.
Yeah, GG Dem0nfr0g. I mean, that's I know probably a tough way to go out, but you know, looks like you had a really good race, all things considered. So. Yeah,
the beginning was rough. I feel like kind of everywhere was rough. Not like terrible, but more annoying the whole way through.
I mean, yeah, having a good plan for that sort of situation is really important. I went back right at the start when I went to Provoca to see if I would get, knowing I'd get the canoe, but knowing I needed a bunch of money. So I went there to get cabins, doubled back, and got the heal staff. And you know, heal staff sometimes on the seed sells for 15k on its own. So I'm like, all right, great. Let me take this back to Corneria and sell it, and come up way short of the money I needed.
I just did a pop grind.
I went into Volcano.
Yeah, had pop not worked out, that's probably what would have been my backup, is to hit that top level.
Yeah, with Lit 3, I wasn't interested in pop grinding. I was much more interested in picking up my levels on the rivers. Killing Karibs with Lit 3 was the game plan early on for me, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, Dem0nfr0g. You know, Demerine took a wipe on Chaos. You'd gotten to Temple of Fiends Revisited right when she was making her second attempt, so it was anyone's race right up until pretty much the end.
Yeah, and I didn't think to move my knight down, and Carrie just double taps my knight. All right.
I mean, who expects Carrie 2 to actually do anything?
Second time through was pretty smooth.
Yeah, same. On the very last turn before my knight could swing and kill Tiamat, because Tiamat had a bunch of hit points and I wasn't critting. Nuclear hits my white mage is about 220 health, hits my white mage for just enough to kill all three of my mages in one shot.
I don't think I ever saw a nuclear on Tiamat. I just don't think I saw anything really nasty on any of the fiends other than Carrie with like 4 hits for 400.
Although thinking about it, if I had stopped to burn both, I would have been okay because my knight would have had life 2 also.
Yeah, and how about finding that dragon armor right after Phantom?
I always waffle on doing those chests because if it ends up being a cabin or a tent or something silly, it can throw off your heal potions. I was like, all right, you know, I'm only at 1 ribbon. Maybe I'll get one. All right, dragon armor is not the ribbon, but you know, I'll take it.
It's not the ribbon, but you can see it from there. Joke, you got anything to ask? To say Dem0nfr0g?
I was going to say no. GG, Dem0nfr0g. Thank you for racing. It was fun watching.
Thank you.
So yeah,
I was going to say,
okay.
I think we might want did you have any other questions for them? Well,
before I do, Cyclone wishes to ask, how do you like your Tyro burger, Dem0nfr0g?
Oh, medium, always.
We are friends. Not friends.
Yeah, y'all, if nothing else, are going to want to rewatch the VOD because Joker actually got me to laugh this time.
Well,
it usually works the other way around.
Yes, Woe typically does break me with his never breaking from seriousness.
Look, someone's got to play the straight man to you, man. Otherwise, the comedy duo just doesn't work.
Straight man and the 30-year-old randomizer. I like it.
I mean, I've got a job to do, and I do it well. I'd like to think. But yeah, we might as well go ahead and start wrapping up. So, what do y'all have any final thoughts?
Good luck, Demerine, next week. Hopefully you can notch a win and try to get into that the bracket stage.
Thank you. I'm very excited. Hopefully you come out in week 5. I know that you're out of the running, but would love to see you come in and play like this and crush somebody in round 5 anyway, just because you can.
I mean, considering it's my first tournament, wasn't really expecting to light the world on fire, but I'll practice, get better, maybe next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, you came into this community beginning of May.
About a month before the thing started, yeah. Month and a half.
Yeah, so it's one of those things you have, for someone who's been doing this for just a couple of weeks, it's pretty good. Or not a couple of weeks, a couple of months. You have done very well. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be nervous about playing you, first of all, next week, but definitely come next tournament.
I look forward to it. I'm hoping for the some more stuff like the league from last time. I really did enjoy the alternate rules and end goals and stuff. So hopefully we'll see something like that too.
Yeah, I mean, with the devs working to come up with new alternative objectives and end games for the randomizer, I'm sure that we're going to see some fun stuff come the league. So, Demerine, your final thoughts?
No. I mean, GG again, Dem0nfr0g. Absolutely gonna do my best next week. The Crystal Fight Club rolls on, and I'm still rolling on with it, which feels really good.
Yeah, and you're safe from having to deal with Trystal a second time, so that has to feel good.
Yeah, there's plenty of killers at 3-1. Every bracket is a meat grinder, and this one is no exception. Silverfire already pinged me and went in before we draw each other for round 5, because that would be that would be a thing.
If that happens, I'm signing on to commentate that one, because that just sounds like it'll be a good time. Joker, what about you?
Eat more steak.
Very wise words from a wise man. So,
joking around. Thank you. Definitely give our runners and world a follow. Thank you to Speed Gaming community, Final Fantasy 1 community for allowing us to be here. It's a pleasure being able to cast a wonderful race with you, Dem0nfr0g and Demerine. So thank you.
Absolutely. And if you're not already following Speed Gaming, Speed Gaming 2, Speed Gaming 3, Speed Gaming 4, Speed Gaming 5.
Ocho.
I live for the day that Speed Gaming 8 the Ocho happens. But if you're not following those, you need to, because there's plenty of great action that comes up. But, thanks to you, chat, for sticking around and asking a lot of good questions. And you know what? We'll see you back here tomorrow, and a good bit more after that.
Yes, so, the last thing is, there's an entry shuffle that will be happening on Speedruns Live right now for everyone that will be going through. So if you like what you saw here and you want to give it a test, or at least want to watch some more Final Fantasy 1 randomizer matches going on, just pop in, take a look, and have some fun.
Yes, Entrance Shuffle, one of those alpha alternative modes that our dev team is working hard to get the logic right on. But, until then, we'll see you all around. Take care, everybody.
Mr. Kelly, the MB are my initials. To answer that question. I'll give you the first one. M is Mike.
All right.
See ya.
Later, everyone.